The neon lights of station Kepler 442 flickered in rhythmic patterns, casting rainbow shadows across the promenade where dozens of species mingled in the neutral zone. Juan Martinez sat at table 47 in the Cosmic Convergence Cafe, his calloused hands wrapped around a cup of something the menu claimed was coffee. It wasn't, but after 3 tours in the outer reaches, he'd learned not to complain about small comforts. He checked his chrono again. His date was late. What Juan didn't know was that 3 tables over, hidden behind a holographic privacy screen, 4 Velkari students were recording everything. Their antennae twitched with barely suppressed laughter as they monitored their prank's progress through their neural links. "I still can't believe he actually showed up," chittered Zix, his carapace gleaming with excitement. "A human veteran on a blind date with a Dracmora? This is going to be legendary." "Wait until she arrives," added Kess, her compound eyes glittering with malice. "We made sure to find the biggest one in the sector. Humans are so obsessed with appearance. He'll run screaming." They had set up the whole thing carefully, a fake dating profile, messages written by AI to seem genuine, and a carefully selected target, Natalie, a Dracora female who had responded to their fake, human-seeking cross-species connection advertisement with heartbreaking sincerity. The cafe door whooshed open, and the Velkari students tensed with anticipation. Natalie entered hesitantly, her massive frame barely fitting through the doorway meant to accommodate most species. Her scales, deep emerald with hints of gold, caught the light as she moved. She was easily 9 feet tall and proportioned like her species, broad, powerful, and yes, by Dracora standards, overweight. Her wings were folded tight against her back, making her seem even larger. Her golden eyes scanned the cafe nervously, claws clicking anxiously against her datapad. The other patrons stared, some whispered, a few made no effort to hide their disgust. Juan stood up and waved. "Natalie?" Her eyes widened in surprise. You're actually here?" "Of course," Juan said, pulling out a chair. Well, a reinforced bench that the cafe kept for larger species. "Wouldn't miss it. You want something to drink? Fair warning, the coffee's fake, but the Andromedan fizz isn't bad." Natalie lowered herself carefully onto the bench, which creaked but held. She kept her wings tucked tight, trying to make herself smaller. "I'll have water, thank you." As Juan ordered, the Velkari students increased their recording quality. This was going better than expected. The human was playing along. The rejection would be even more devastating. "So," Juan said, settling back into his seat, "your profile said you're a stellar cartographer? That's incredible. I used to navigate by the stars during my service. Never could do it professionally, though. Takes a special kind of brain." Natalie blinked, clearly thrown off guard. "You read my profile? Actually read it?" "Sure did. The part about mapping the Kepler belt's gravitational anomalies was fascinating. That's cutting-edge work." For the next 20 minutes, they talked. Really talked. Juan asked questions and listened, actually listened, to her answers. He told her about his service, about the time his ship was stranded and he'd had to use stellar navigation to guide them home. She explained the mathematical beauty of gravitational harmonics, and her face lit up in ways it clearly hadn't in a long time. The Velkari students grew restless. "When is he going to bail?" Zix muttered. "Maybe he's playing the long game," Kess suggested, making the rejection worse. But as they watched, something else was happening. Natalie was laughing, a deep rumbling sound that made other patrons turn their heads. Juan was grinning, sharing a story about a mishap during zero-G training. Then Natalie's expression shifted, became vulnerable. "Juan, I should tell you something. This date, I think it might be a prank. There have been incidents before. Humans don't usually—" She gestured at herself, her voice dropping. People don't usually want to be seen with someone who looks like me. Juan's expression hardened, but not at her. His eyes scanned the cafe with the systematic precision of a veteran who'd learned to spot ambushes. They landed on the privacy screen that flickered just a fraction too obviously. "Table 51, he said quietly. 4 Velkari students. They've been recording us." Natalie's face fell and something broke in her eyes. "Oh, of course. I should have known." "Hey," Juan interrupted gently, reaching across the table. He stopped just short of touching her clawed hand, asking permission with his eyes. She nodded shakily, and he rested his weathered hand on hers. "I need you to listen to me, okay?" She nodded, fighting tears. Juan raised his voice, making sure it carried across the cafe. "I've been to 14 worlds. I've fought beside, bled with, and saved the lives of beings from 100 species. You know what I learned? The universe is full of people who judge others by their shells, their scales, their skin, their size. They do it because they're small inside, because they've never had to rely on someone different from them when everything's falling apart." He squeezed her hand gently. "You know what else I learned? The best people I've ever known were the ones that shallow folks overlooked. My commanding officer was a grath everyone called too soft for combat. She saved my entire platoon with her soft heart and sharp mind. My best friend was a human everyone called broken after he lost his legs. He's now the best pilot in 3 sectors. Natalie was crying now, silent tears tracking down her scaled cheeks. "You're beautiful, Natalie. Not despite anything, not if you ignore anything. You're beautiful because you're passionate about your work, because you light up talking about gravitational harmonics, and because you had the courage to show up today even though you've been hurt before. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing I've seen in years." The cafe had gone silent. Juan stood, still holding her hand, and turned to face the Velkari students, whose privacy screen had failed entirely. "You 4? You thought this was funny? You wanted to humiliate someone to entertain yourselves? Let me tell you something about humans. We've got a saying. We judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, or scales, or shells." His voice was quiet now, but it cut like steel. "You're bullies. Small, petty bullies. And you know what? You're going to regret this. Not because I'll do anything to you, but because you just recorded yourselves committing a hate crime under Station Kepler 442's anti-discrimination laws. Enjoy explaining that to station security." Zix's antennae drooped. Kess made a sound like air escaping a punctured hull. The other 2 Velkari students were openly crying, their cultural shame response triggered by public dishonor. But Juan had already turned back to Natalie. "So, there's an observation deck on level 15 with a view of the Trinary Nebula. Want to get out of here and actually enjoy our evening? You could show me some of those constellations you mapped." Natalie stared at him, her golden eyes wide and still wet with tears. Then slowly, she smiled, really smiled. "I'd like that very much." As they left together, the scarred human veteran and the magnificent Dracora cartographer, the cafe erupted in applause from the patrons who'd heard everything. The Velkari students sat in their shame, their prank having backfired in the most profound way possible, because they'd forgotten the first rule about humans. When humanity decides someone is worth defending, nothing in the universe can make them back down. And sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a gun or a ship. Sometimes it's simply choosing kindness when cruelty is expected.